What's up, everybody? It's the Legend of W, and I am here to talk about possibly one of the most divisive games I have seen for a very long time, and that game is Death Stranding. So I feel that I have this love and not hate but dislike kind of relationship with the game because there are some things that I really enjoy and there are some things that I really do not enjoy about the game. So it's very, very weird and complicated. I've never felt this. I don't know if it's confused or just mixed. It's like a mixed feeling, and it's very conflictive. I think conflictive is the right word. First, let me go through my positive thoughts about Death Stranding. So I think it's pretty obvious, or at least for me, the story is the most strongest point in the game. It's well written. The characters connect really well. You can feel that there's a connection between all of them. And I think that really built up for a very, very good story and narrative. Possibly one of the best that I've seen this entire gen. I think it's rare to find a very well-written story in gaming, and I'm not trying to say that a lot of games out there are terrible in storytelling, even though there are a few exceptions, but I think Death Stranding is one of the few games, at least this gen, that has such a well-written story that's told in a very simple manner. Even though the story is complex, it just feels so smooth from point A to point B. From when you start the game all the way to the very end, it just feels like a smooth experience, and you absorb it in, I guess, in a very steady flow. So I think it's very rare to see that. So I would say the story of Death Stranding is definitely on the top 3 of my list. I actually felt connected with the characters in the game, with Sam and the rest of the cast, which have done an amazing job, by the way, bringing this game to life. And that's a rare thing for me to say because honestly, I don't feel that way with most games, especially this gen. I really didn't have that feeling besides Final Fantasy 15, which I think I felt the most connected to with Noctis and his crew. But Death Stranding is definitely up there. And that's something very nice to feel because I think a well-written story requires you to feel connected with the characters. So if you can't really connect with them, then I don't think the story is as impactful as you may think. But that's just my take on it. I'm very interested in finding out what will happen with Sam and Lou after witnessing the ending to Death Stranding, since he cut himself out of the network thanks to Deadman. I wonder how these two will grow up together. It's something that made me very curious, and hopefully we get to see something in the future. And speaking of the future, Hideo Kojima had an interview with Vulture that discussed the possibility of working with Norman Reedus again in a Death Stranding sequel. But if he were to start such a project, Kojima says that he would start from zero. Part of me is a little bit disappointed because I feel there's that potential to have more story for Sam and Lou, but at the same time I kind of understand because perhaps Hideo Kojima doesn't really have anything more to say about Sam and Lou specifically, and their story in Death Stranding has concluded. And maybe stretching it out, into a sequel or two might be a little bit too much and wouldn't really be as interesting as the original game. So that could be a thing. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised because I feel that Hideo Kojima wants to move on to something else, especially that he's been working on Metal Gear for such a long time in his career that sticking to one thing for a long time is sort of something that he wants to move away from, especially now that he's independent and has his own independent studio. So it's, I think, something that we might see in the future, but I don't think we will see it anytime soon. And who knows, he might have some plans for a horror game, and that's actually something that I'm very much looking forward to if he is planning for a horror game, because PT had so much potential. But of course, for those who don't know, well, a lot of unfortunate things happened between him and Konami, so it didn't happen, which is sad. Okay, I think I'm going a little off track, so let's go back and focus on Death Stranding. So let's talk about the music of Death Stranding, which I know a lot of you love and a lot of you hate as well. I am honestly 50-50 about this. And this is not to diss any of the artists who I understood that created some of their music for Death Stranding specifically, but I feel that adding licensed music is a bit lazy to me. I feel it's a bit lazy, and it kind of, even though it fits probably well with the gameplay, it just feels uninspired in my opinion. It doesn't feel as original. And I know it's so weird to say that, but that's the feeling that I get. And on the other side, the soundtracks that were specifically made for Death Stranding without featuring these artists, I felt fit more into the game. I actually felt more engaged. The soundtracks that featured these artists made me kind of fall asleep, to be honest. And that's actually pretty bad to say, but that's honestly how I felt. I didn't really feel that connection. An example outside of Death Stranding, which I wanted to point out, is Final Fantasy 15. So the main theme for that game is Stand By Me by Florence of the Machine, which in the end, it did connect with me in a way because of how it has an emotional attachment to it based off of the story, which I think was well done. But at the same time, I wouldn't have mind if the song never existed within the game and just kept with Somnus, which is the actual original theme of Final Fantasy 15, or I could say more of Final Fantasy Versus 13 when it was in development. I honestly think that Hideo Kojima could have done a lot better in this department, so in the next game, hopefully there's no licensed music. So now to what I really think is the lowest point of Death Stranding. And this is unfortunate, but it's the gameplay. So going back in time with Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, I felt that Hideo Kojima created a game with one of the most fun experiences in gameplay that I have experienced in a very long time. I feel that he raised the bar in the stealth action genre. And there was just so many things that you can do in that game that it gave you that flexibility and that replayability to try different things, to complete certain missions, and it felt so satisfying, which is what I'm trying to say. So coming from a good track record, in my opinion, he has created so many fun experiences. But Death Stranding was definitely not one of them. I felt that the gameplay part of Death Stranding was a massive downgrade in comparison to the Phantom Pain. And I'm not trying to say that Death Stranding is supposed to be like a stealth action game or anything like that. I do understand, or at least I like to understand, where Hideo Kojima was going with Death Stranding, you know, with Sam being a delivery guy and just delivering packages back and forth, and you know, going through the mule camps and trying to collect some of the stolen goods. But I felt that there were a lot of limitations to the gameplay. It just didn't feel as satisfying as the Phantom Pain. And it might feel a bit unfair to compare, but I'm only talking about gameplay in general. The way how it felt, the dynamics in gameplay in comparison, it just felt so different, and I felt like the focus was so low in terms of gameplay that I just didn't really have that much of a fun experience. One of the things that I really hope that Hideo Kojima would solve in terms of the open world genre are the very stale side quests that are in these games. But unfortunately, I felt that staleness in Death Stranding. You just go from point A to point B delivering stuff, and there are, maybe some obstacles here and there, and, some BTs here and there, which, at the end of the day, they were scary in the beginning, but not so much in the end. You were just running around and didn't really care about them. It felt very stale. So the side quest is just picking up a package, taking it to the destination. You see a character in a hologram, and then that's it. You get a reward. You get a little points for a star, and that was it. You didn't really get more out of the story. Now, I know you do receive messages from these characters in your mailbox, but I felt like that could have been applied to the game itself in a way that, it would have been more interesting, but it just felt so stale to me to see that there was really no development, no complex development between these side characters and Sam. And it just made me bored, and I preferred to just fast forward to finish the game, and which is why I finished the game so soon. If not, I would have probably have taken a much longer time if I enjoyed the side quests, but that wasn't the case. Of course, there is a purpose in order to get a better star rating, so that way you can get upgrades and all that good stuff, but really, the game is not hard. Like, I played the game on hard, and it was really not that challenging. So, all of these side quests in order to upgrade your equipment felt almost pointless. Even though it was very helpful, but I honestly felt it was just pointless. And that leads me to another thing. The difficulty in this game is an absolute joke. Now, I'm not sure whether there's an extreme mode or anything like that, but I honestly believe that this game should have been a lot more challenging. But then again, I do understand that, at least I like to understand, again, that Hideo Kojima wanted to create more of a movie rather than a game. Even though it is a game, maybe he wanted to create a movie and a game, is what I'm trying to say. And obviously, in order to accomplish that, for most of the people who are getting this game, you have to make it more easier. I think it's just unfortunate. I would have definitely loved to have seen more challenge in the game if there was that possibility, but it just wasn't in there. Now, I think building the structures and finding other structures from other people online to help each other is actually really cool. But I felt that there should have been a lot more to it in the game. And I just did not feel it. I just couldn't really feel that gameplay, honestly. So I felt that in the end there was so much potential, but that potential just went out the window. Though I am very harsh about the gameplay part of the game, I do respect Hideo Kojima's vision of it. So if this is how he intended it to be, so be it. And I applaud him to keep it that way. But I really do hope that he considers to balance the experience more, so that way we have great story and great gameplay, and as well as great music at the same time, which I think if he can pull it off, which I know he can pull it off, because to me he is such a great developer and his team are great developers as well, they can create an even better experience that I think everybody will love. Well, not everybody, because, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't like something, which is something that you can never win. You're always going to lose some part, but at least I think it won't be as divisive as Death Stranding. Honestly, though, I hope the next project is a horror game, because I really enjoyed PT. Anyways, that is going to be it for this video, so I am interested in knowing what are your thoughts about Death Stranding. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it as much as you anticipated? I'm very interested in knowing what you think about the game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, smash like, subscribe, and smash the bell button for more. And I will see you all in the next video. Peace.